Blackboard.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this 7 o'clock evening Central Time. Today we are going to talk a little bit about FIU advisor and officer orientation, basically just navigating the FIU website, looking at the login areas and some of the resources available. This is meant to be an open and fluid environment, so feel free to jump in and say, oh, hold that thought, can you show me this, or can I ask about that? That's what we want out of this chapter chat session. We want that interaction, and would love if everyone would just list their name, their email, and their chapter, if you're comfortable, in the chapter chat, in the chat section, and then we'll have record of that for your attendance and things as well. That would be most appreciated. So I am Melissa Martin. I am the Executive Director of FIU, and we have several other national officers with us, but I will point out that we have Jennifer Reeder. Jennifer, can I say hello?
Hello. Thank you everybody for joining us.
And she is our national president. And then we have Kyle Robertson, who is our president-elect. Can I say hello, Kyle? Okay. So first things first, if at any point you do not see the screen that I'm referring to, please stop me. And so I thought we would just kind of go through the website. There are a few updates there. So I will see if I can share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Is everyone seeing the FIU website here?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so if you go to the login section, we do post lots of updates here in this little sticky note tab, and I'm just going to exit out of that. And so, excuse me, here we have the Resource Center. For some reason, I'm not seeing the video here, but just a minute ago, oh, there it loads. There is a video here that kind of goes through how to log in and where resources are located. But the chapter advisor login is chapter 20. So it's all lowercase, chapter 20, chapter 20. And the collegiate chapter officer login is college 20. All lowercase, college 20. And then the alumni chapter officers login, I believe, is alumni 2020. I might check it real quick just to be sure. We changed them this year because it had been a while. So you'll see this screen when you go to access it. Okay, so alumni 2020, all lowercase, alumni 2020. So that should give you access to each one of those. Let's see. Okay, can everyone see that I've clicked on chapter advisor login? Yes, okay. And I'm going to enter chapter 20, chapter 20. And it can be a little overwhelming. We do have a lot of information behind the login. And so we've talked a little bit about that internally, if it is a barrier to access. But for right now, that's where it's located. And the thought behind that is that it kind of safeguards the privileges of membership and those resources there. But we definitely want you accessing it, logging in, and navigating around. So here, there's everything from the handbook, the guide for new members. So you can order the guide for new members through the chapter supply order form, but you can also look at a digital version here that's free. So that's like a digital flip book. So that's good. You can send out to your members. You can download it as a PDF. The advisor toolbox is here, and this is a relatively new resource. Is Diana on by chance? Okay. Diana Watson-Mail is our National Advisor Counselor, and she has been instrumental in getting this started. And so this is also, as far as advisors are concerned, this is kind of a best practices dump bin, if you will. So it actually has tangible examples from other advisors. And if you have something great that you do in your chapter and you would like to share that with others, we welcome that. You can send that to me at national@fiu.org, and I would be happy to upload it here. So you can see some chapters actually have an application for their members. There's an example of that. an initiation program example, a prospective member letter. And then one of the newest things we've added, which I think is super helpful, was submitted by Sally Fortenberry and Beta Zeta chapter, is an actual video of their 2020 virtual initiation ceremony. So as we're all kind of pivoting and switching gears in this unusual time, I thought it was really nice to have an example of another virtual initiation to look at, because I think a lot of us are saying, okay, well, we support virtual initiations, give that a try, and maybe you're not quite sure how to go about that. So those are some good resources there. And under the advisor section, there's a checklist for a successful year, tips for advisors, meeting motivators, kind of a must be present to win game, which obviously I know during the current times and COVID-19, that's not always possible, but lots of different resources out there, and you can feel free to adapt those for your chapter's needs. And then Jennifer actually did a professional project webinar last year that's available. So as your chapters prepare for your project reports, which are due April 1st, that's something great to watch. Different applications like the Community Impact Grant. We also have some different things on here for virtual initiation advice, the virtual recognition event, and then the recent chapter chat we held on how to apply for FIU scholarships, fellowships, and awards. Cindy Jones hosted that. Thank you, Cindy. And so that video is linked here, and it's also on our YouTube channel. So again, great resources here. It's not meant to overwhelm you at all, but there's definitely things here that can hopefully make your task as an advisor easier. And so the fall packet of resources for chapter advisors and collegiate chapter officers, I highlighted that because that's kind of your operating manual. And so everything that you have here for the collegiate officers that are on, just know that your fall packet, as we refer to it, or fall resource packet, is just the same as the advisors, with the exception of the advisors resources. So this section right here, can everybody see where I'm circling this right here? This section is only for advisors. It's not, anything that's top secure data, but it is resources specific to advisors. So when the collegiates log in their section, they will have everything except for this little section. So if anyone's wondering, oh, I might miss something, that's really the only difference. So the table of contents, I actually just keep that printed out along with the planning calendar, just to kind of, so I know what's what. Let's see, I don't know if you can see it here, but it brings up a different screen. Do I have to stop sharing, Jennifer, and then pull that up? Let's see if that.
Jennifer's out for a minute.
Oh, okay. All right, let me try to reshare my screen again. Okay, can everyone see this table of contents?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you don't want to go clicking around and you just want to know where do I go to find this, there is a table of contents in both the collegiate section and the advisor section. So if you say, gosh, I know that active status form is due October 15th, where do I find that? And you can see that it's here, and it's in President's Resources. So the great thing about the site is that everything is divided by, let me see, I think I've lost you. Everything is divided by officer. Okay, so we're back on the screen where you see the login section. The calendar is another one that's really helpful. But as you go down, if you say Susie is our president, Susie can go right to President's Resources and find everything she needs to do her job as president. In addition to, whatever is assigned from the local chapter. The collegiate newsletters are posted here also. And then in the advisor section, they're actually going to have the region counselor newsletters. So those are full of great tips as well. You've got vice president's resources. So vice presidents, if you haven't figured it out by now, you play a vital role in the chapter professional projects. So everything is kind of here on how to write those projects. And then public relations, maybe you want to start a Facebook page for your chapter and you're not sure how to do that. or you just want to know kind of a guide for authors and submit to the candle, that information is there readily available. And one of the questions I often get is, how do we order chapter supplies? Everyone wants to know, where do I go to find this? How do I order honor cords and stoles? And so for the sake of payment, we actually have that housed in treasurer's resources. So if you go to forms, you will see the chapter supply order form, and we actually have one that's a pay with credit card and one's pay with check. I know some of our universities do pay with a credit card. Some are on a net 30 and we get a check, later. Typically, unless you work out something special with me via email, we do not ship unless we receive payment. So you can certainly pay with a check. But typically, if you order 20 stoles and don't send me a check for 30 days, unless you say, Melissa, can you please send this to me? A check is coming. And usually we're very good about working with chapters, but typically until payment is received, items don't ship. But that is where that's located. Everything's there that you could possibly think of. The treasurer's report's there. And then we also have this wonderful section from past President Corinne Carr with leadership lessons. So if you're just wanting some kind of content for a Zoom meeting or anything, that's something you can draw on to assist there. So are there any questions with any of that? Okay. Trying to think of what else could come up. Maybe I'll pull up the chapter supply form. Let's see. And one important announcement that I wanted to be sure and share tonight is the Bachtel Holbrook Collegiate Advisor Award. We did extend the deadline. National Council voted to approve that deadline extension to December 15th. It's typically November 1st. So for you collegiates that are on and you have a worthy and hardworking and wonderful person to nominate as an advisor award recipient, we encourage you to do that. And I'll show you in a minute where that is as well. But we do want to honor those outstanding advisors. All right. So I clicked on the chapter supply order form pay by credit card. So can everyone see that screen that says Phi Epsilon Omicron chapter supply order form? Okay, I see heads nodding. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. It says basically if you want to pay by check, pick the other one. This is for credit cards specifically. Again, make sure you know that the shipping address you're putting in is the shipping address you want it sent to. Sometimes we have students who might put their own address in, and I have to flag it and say, ooh, of course, with COVID, sometimes they do need it shipped somewhere else. But typically I say, okay, this doesn't appear to be a university address. I just need to confirm this is where you want it to go, sort of thing. And so the advisor signature, so this is something we've been making exceptions for lately because a lot of times we're not physically together, right? So if you need to put in there, your own signature or, email approval is being sent, or you can just email me separately and let me know. We don't want that to be a barrier to keep you from getting what you need. And then there's a place for treasurer signatures. And like I said, there's that guide for new members booklet. The digital one's available free online as a flip book, but you can order hard copies if you need more certificates or bookmarks or pins, all that's there. And then we have, sorry, I think that might've been me. And then we have the stoles and the cords there. And then we do just have a $12 flat rate shipping. So the great thing about that is if you can submit your chapter order at once, you only have to pay the $12. Now, what I will say, now that we are kind of taking this virtual learning and socially distanced approach, we have chapters asking if they can submit one order and we can mail to, 10 different students. And that's really not equitable for us to do that. I do apologize for the inconvenience. And we made some exceptions in the spring when things kind of shut down rather abruptly. But if you do need honor cords and stoles for December graduates and you need those shipped to individual members, you will need to submit separate orders for each shipping address. If not, we can ship to you. And then if you have the means or the university is set up in a way that they can distribute those, that would be great. So this has credit card information, and all of this is secure and encrypted. I don't see your credit card numbers when it's submitted or anything like that. And almost everything we ship does get shipped through priority mail. So that takes, maybe 3 to 4 days at the most, once payment is received. Okay. Is there anything that maybe any of you that have joined us have questions about that I haven't covered that really seems to come up quite often in your meetings or with your members? Everyone's quiet. I'm looking in the chat to see if I missed anything. Okay. And let me go back. I wanted to show you where that advisor award nomination is. Okay. So if you can see on the website, there is a section that says alumni, and then awards is in the drop-down box. So here, we've just kind of got this accordion style formatting, but alumni research grant. But here is the Bachtel Holbrook Collegiate Advisor Award. And so there's the nomination form right there. It'll populate a Word document. And again, we encourage chapters to submit. And then the Community Impact Grant is another one. That's $250 that can go to just any alumni. It doesn't have to be a part of a graduate degree or anything. If you say, I would like to start a food pantry or a book exchange in my own community, and I would like to apply for this Community Impact Grant, and it's not a part of your, your job or anything. It's just kind of this service project you want to do to improve your community. That's something new that National Council adopted. So you can even apply for that along with some of our larger awards like Florence Fallgatter and Alumni Research Grant. See here. If you're interested in establishing a new chapter, I know we have some members from Morgan State University on. They are in the petitioning process of establishing a chapter. So you can look at member benefits, eligibility, and how to establish a new chapter there. We've got some helpful information too from Dr. Sally Fortenberry on realignment of university programs. I'm not sure if I click on this, if it'll, did it take you all to the next page with me? Can you see this? Yes, okay.
Yes.
It might not want to populate this Word document. Are you seeing the Word document or no?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Thank you. I can't see everyone, so thank you, Cindy, for chiming in. So this is an article that was originally written for the Candle that Sally Fortenberry submitted. And we get a lot of chapters that say, oh, we're doing away with our department or our college of human sciences, and now it's called something else, or they're taking the textile students and housing those with the art students now. So we're really not going to be able to sustain our chapter. And so although we recognize and empathize that does create different challenges, it does not mean that your chapter has to fold. So as we know from family consumer science standpoint, we are a very diversified field. So we have, dietetics majors, early childhood development. You might even have kinesiology, textiles and apparel merchandising. And so chances are they are going to be dispersed in some campuses, right? In different areas. And so this article has some great advice that Sally's outlined on how to kind of navigate that. And another suggestion I would share just from what I've seen from some chapters is a successful co-advising relationship. So if you say, well, I have kind of more access, so to speak, to these areas and these students, then you might elect to have a co-advisor. It takes some of the pressure off of the advisor to have someone to support you to say, okay, well, this person might be in charge of professional projects with the students, and And this advisor might do more of the overseeing the finance and the treasury. So again, we want to give you all the resources. We don't want it to be this kind of unattainable goal for you to try to navigate on your own. So there's lots of stuff out there, the fall resource packet, some of these articles, and also the advisor toolbox is really great. And when you look, I'm going to pull back up the planning calendar because I feel like that's an important one. We'll go into the collegiate section. So again, that password is college, all lowercase 20. Okay. Can you all see the member only login area?
No.
No. Okay. All right, let me try again.
There's a question in the chat box, Melissa.
Okay. Bigger. Okay. Okay, so Trina from Theta chapter has asked, since we're all virtual and a lot of us will likely be in spring, are there any ideas that people have for doing virtual fundraising or participation for the professional project? And it would be nice to see ideas that have flowed between regions. Does anyone that's on the call have some advice to share?
I do. I
Sally?
can do a little bit. We actually don't do any fundraising and we are not taking dues this semester since we really can't. Our dues are for food. So we would buy our refreshments, we'd buy our drinks, we'd buy our speaker gifts, because they would come in live. So now all of our speakers are on Zoom. All of our meetings are on Zoom, except for we just had our senior appreciation and we had our seniors come to the classroom that's designated for so many students. And then everybody else was on Zoom and we had our speaker on Zoom. So it was kind of a hybrid meeting. But our professional project, we've been able to continue with that and we're in Texas, but we still have to meet CDC guidelines for our students. But we're working with the Humane Society of North Texas, working with animals. And so they are in dire need of volunteers. So our members basically sign up on the website. We had a presentation at the beginning of the semester from their volunteer coordinator, and then they can go in one at a time and volunteer at the Humane Society. We had a group of 25 members that participated at their Halloween event. It was at there are a lot of restaurants now that are catered to animal lovers. And so it was an outdoor restaurant and the students helped give out, information. They had pets there from the Humane Society. And it was a Saturday morning on Halloween day, October 31st. So it was a great event and they all were there from 8 till noon. And so they were able to get some good opportunities to not only work with our service project, but to meet their requirements to have 3 hours plus service hours for the semester. So there are a lot of opportunities that they can do. Mm-hmm. If you just identify, like you could do even the SBCA, which is national. The Humane Society just happens to be the Humane Society of North Texas, so it's in Fort Worth. But if you did the National Humane Society, SBCA, then they could volunteer with their local organization if that was a professional project you wanted to reach out to or collaborate with. Mm-hmm. So that's what we've done this fall.
Thank you, Sally, for sharing that. That's really helpful to get kind of firsthand knowledge. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about things for people who really are isolating and not getting out, but even something like a card shower. I'm not sure if kind of assisted living or even nursing homes are accepting things like that, but like kind of encouraging cards and notes, that would be kind of something neat. that people could do. And I don't think Martha Rue is on tonight. She had a conflict, but she's from Alpha Alpha chapter. And thinking about animals, I think they collected pumpkins and took those to an area zoo, and the animals seemed to really enjoy that. So, there's kind of different ways. It may not be maybe what you would have originally planned as your professional project. I think we're all learning to be creative and flexible in these times.
And I'll just tell you what we decided to do this fall is we've been doing a local charity called Affordable Christmas that wants new toys, that they end up having this shopping day for parents, and they're able to buy things for like 10 cents on a dollar. And since a lot of people aren't collecting the toys just because of the transfer and the worry about the COVID, our chapter decided to do a Venmo fundraiser, and all the members are getting people to make donations. And then we're going to give a cash donation because the Affordable Christmas has a hard time getting things for the teenagers, and they love a little bit of cash so that they can go out and get the things that they know the teenagers are requesting. So that's how we're doing it, kind of hands off, because most of the collegiates have Venmo, and even a couple of like advisors, friends and stuff have been donating. So on the end of the week, this Friday, whatever our total is, then we'll forward that to the affordable house coordinator and be able to participate in that charity, even though we're not physically collecting toys.
That's great.
Yeah, the other thing is that a lot of organizations that you can collaborate in your community, they have an Amazon Smiles account. And so we've collaborated with Ronald McDonald House last year, and they have an Amazon Smiles account. So if you don't want to physically or can't physically go, you donate for their needs. Well, the Humane Society has an Amazon Smiles for dog food and animal pets and things like that. So I think that if you were to look for the organization, you may find that they actually have a Smiles account. And so students who aren't able to physically be there, or they're not on campus, they could actually contribute in that manner as well.
Those are all great ideas. Thank you for sharing. And a lot of the times, as you're saying that, I hear a lot of the nonprofits you might partner with already have things set up. They've already pivoted in a way that they can say, this is how you can help us without physically being present. So maybe even instead of trying to rack our brains of, what we can do, if you just access their website or look around. I know when you said Ronald McDonald House, the Ronald McDonald House in Nashville, which is what we're close to, they are doing a new promotion called Light Up the House. And so your FIU chapter, as an example, could do like the Venmo account, like what you were saying, Cindy, and then you could sponsor a room, and you could say, our FIU chapter lit up a room at the Ronald McDonald House. And really it all goes back to supporting them. But it definitely makes things different, but not impossible. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
I appreciate the advice. Sorry, I have kids in the background playing ball.
Okay.
But those are all great ideas. I didn't know if anybody's actually doing anything with school systems right now either, because a lot of school systems are virtual. So how do you balance that? But I mean, I didn't even think about like cards for hospitals or retirement homes. So great ideas, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for a great question. And I was thinking about another project started by another group here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where we are. They actually raised money, again, just online, Venmo or PayPal or whatever service you choose. And they had someone like DoorDash or Uber Eats, and they delivered meals to the hospital. So they weren't really physically involved, but they would have, for those people who are trained to do that, drop off meals and deliver meals for healthcare workers. So that's also another great avenue.
Melissa, can I interject? Another thing is, we got COVID holding us up, but that doesn't mean if you have a great idea that does require interaction, you put the plan into place, and it doesn't have to actually be executed, but maybe you can do it late in the fall or spring next year when things maybe hopefully lighten up. But by the due date, it just has to be written down and documented how it would take place. So it doesn't have to be executed if you have an absolutely great plan out there that you're feeling like you can't present it.
Yes, and thank you for adding that, Kyle. I almost forgot, in all honesty. Last year, we made those amendments so that it could be a proposed project that has clear detail on how it would be executed, but doesn't have to be completed. So yes, thank you, Kyle, for reminding us. Okay. Is there anyone else that might have a question? Do your new members have questions, or are you a new advisor that has questions? Or maybe you're a veteran advisor that has questions about something new that we're doing, or just you think, how in the world can I navigate, X, Y, or Z in our current virtual world? We love the dialogue, so feel free. Are you all finding that students tend to communicate more readily via email or text, or like a Remind app or Facebook messages? Is there a communication platform that you feel is more successful with your chapter than others?
Melissa, I was going to tell you, remember I told you that we set up a Slack for our officers?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's awesome.
Okay.
Because I'm usually just the one that's emailing all the time to my officers individually. And so this keeps it out of my email inbox, and it's just on Slack. And it really allows us to focus on different groups or different officers that are supposed to do certain things. So we set up the different, I guess I should say, channels for each one of those. So.
Okay, so if anyone has, go ahead.
I was just going to say, otherwise we send out information about the chapter via email, but our publicity chair, I told her to kind of spice it up since we can't be in person, to actually do a newsletter. So every month, well, actually every week, she was doing a newsletter. So it'd feature a member, a FIU member, with their picture. They had to send it in, and kind of a little write-up about each member, because we, half the time we can't see each other.
Yeah.
And then it would be an announcement. So it would be about a FIU member with their picture. Usually it was 3 or 4 members. And then our announcements, what you should be doing to remember. And then that was sent out every week on Monday.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for
sharing. Creative.
Yeah, so if anyone, we actually have started using this a little bit at the national level with our national officers, but the tool is called Slack, S-L-A-C-K, and it is for up to like 10,000 messages. I think it's free. So if anyone wants to look into that, or maybe you have experience, you can create channels by topic and include different members in each one, upload videos, files, direct message people, like kind of like private messaging. And I think maybe we can all relate to the bursting inbox these days. So because everyone is virtual, there's a lot of emails going around. So it's nice to say, this is my home for FIU things. And then, maybe at the end of the day, you can log in and check. And I actually have my Slack set up in my kind of taskbar ribbon on my computer where I get notifications. So that's nice that I can say, oh, they messaged me, let me check that out. So yeah, no, this is what this is for. It's great to share those kind of those tools and applications. Does anyone else have anything to share?
This is Brecca from Oklahoma State.
Hi, Brecca.
I'm wondering if anybody uses either Teams or SharePoint, particularly with housing of chapter information. I'm still coming on board, and my president and I are still figuring out when to meet and all such good things. So I'm still coming up to speed with what's already been established, but I know in a couple of exchanges, she mentioned Google Drive, and Google is great, but not for university product, especially since it's going to have directory information and student information, like when we have to review information for initiates and such. So I want to keep things on a university connected system. And here at Oklahoma State, we've basically been, won't say told, but strongly encouraged to use Teams and or SharePoint for those things. And so, the rest of my life is spent with career development and student engagement activities. And so we use that a lot. I wasn't sure if others had used some of those systems or if they're using Google Drive. So what I'm thinking of is the sharing of things that need to transition from one year to the next that officers need to have access to, that are some of the historical pieces, et cetera, separate from, whether it's using Slack or WeChat or not WeChat, WhatsApp. That's been a popular one here amongst several of our student groups, and that are kind of just for the immediacy of, ooh, here's a funny meme that I want to share or something. God bless them, they have to deal with a 50-year-old woman now. So anyway, apologies. So I was just curious on others.
Yeah, that's a great question. So did any, I know Google Drive is popular or Dropbox, but as far as what Brecca's saying is kind of keeping it within the university systems, does anyone have advice or a recommendation from what they use to help navigate, I guess, chapter turnover too, is what you're saying, like to have that kind of consistency?
So Brecca, TCU has a box system through IT. It's set up and it's tcu.box.something. I don't know, edu maybe, but it's strictly TCU's box. And anybody can set up their own, just files for box. And so I have not used that, but we use it for every other committee on campus. Box is the place where everything has been kept. We use for the department, for curriculum, just university committees, they all use Box. So that might be an option. You could see if IT has Box at Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Trina just commented that they actually use OneDrive, which is under Microsoft Office software. So that might be something. Anybody else?
At our university, we're all using that Blackboard software. And so we have chapters of any kind of association that you can set up. And it's kind of become our electronic scrapbook. And we have a lot of the things that the officers need to access that they can get on the national website, but at least they have a jumping off point in Blackboard. And so we just have to go in and update each semester. So that's something that's university. And then our students, they love that GroupMe text messaging because you're not limited by number of people. So all the officers are on a GroupMe account. I was just reading all their correspondence about who could come tonight and who couldn't, and I jumped on. But there should be something for you, Brecca, with your university.
Oh, yeah, we have the resources. I was just wondering if somebody had,
Something different.
Yeah, exactly. And I hadn't thought about using a community set up on our LMS. We happen to be a Canvas. We just went into Canvas. And so I'm familiar with the flexibility. I was just thinking in terms of ease of student access, what they tend to gravitate towards, if there's something that people have said, yeah, we tried Teams, but nobody really seemed to adapt to it, or they really, since they were already on the LMS, Canvas, Blackboard, what have you,
right,
that they just tended to be there, so it was just curiosity and trying to make sure that we comply with university standards for maintaining appropriate not just confidentiality, but IT security, and such. So things in motion.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's very helpful. And even, from a national standpoint, we like to hear those same kind of tips and tricks, because if students aren't checking their email, well, then my emails are kind of falling on deaf ears. And if they would rather have a text message, maybe that's something that we should adopt, even to push out information from a national standpoint, which we've definitely discussed. But if anyone ever has advice, or something that seems to be working really well for your chapter, please feel free to share that not only with me. My email is national@fiu.org. I'll add that to the chat box, but also we could upload it to that advisor toolbox. So that's what that's for, like this kind of real tangible, tips and tricks and best practices and apps. One time I was at a conference and we had a round table that was just on your favorite apps. And I got the most out of that meeting just to say, okay, well, what are you using? What are you using? So that's definitely helpful. I did want to also touch on the initiation process. So let me share my screen again. Does anyone have any questions before we kind of switch gears? Just got about 15 minutes. I want to be a good steward of your time. Okay, can you see the collegiate packet on your screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. So if you go on down to the treasurer's resources and forms, you will see the new initiate forms and the chapter initiation report. So I am so appreciative of our advisors and our chapters have done such a good job of keeping all their materials over the years, but we do still get some handwritten forms in. So we really want to strongly encourage everyone to switch to the e-forms and submit your new members this way. So if you click on new initiate forms, did you navigate with me? Can you see the form where it says FIU new initiate form?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so that's just a disclaimer to allow photographs if they're ever submitted. And then it's just full name, address, phone number, email, graduation date, the chapter, the date of initiation, and it just repeats itself. And then when you're all done, you can hit preview answers and then submit, and that will come directly to me. And so we can get that into our national database that way. And it's really helpful, and it takes away some of the guesswork of, is that a P or a B? Do I have that email address right? And it's especially important to get their permanent address and their permanent email. And with those permanent emails, just a friendly reminder, beginning in the fall of 2016, going forward, our new initiates receive a digital version of the Candle, which is our journal, and it's published twice a year. So if we don't have an accurate email for them, then they can't get their subscription. And that's a 5-year subscription. And that comes with their one-time, membership national payment of $60. So we don't want them to miss out on that. And of course, if anyone ever wants to request a hard copy, we're happy to do that as well. And then the chapter initiation report. Can everyone see that screen now? Okay.
Yes.
So sometimes we get people who submit the report and maybe not the new member information, or they submit the new member information, but not the report. We've talked about joining them together, and that might happen this year. But right now they're 2 separate reports, and it really helps because this kind of gives us an overview of what happened. How many members did you initiate? And were there any honorary members? And the other thing is you can pay via credit card. So we haven't always had this feature, but if you have a card for your department, or if you have chapters that reimburse you, depending on how you're structured, you can pay the dues right here with a credit card. So essentially, if you submit this and pay with credit card, and you submit your new member forms and the other document, there's nothing to send to me at the national office. And then in return, I will send you your certificates, your pins, your new membership cards. That all comes in the mail. So we operate, for those of you who may not be familiar, we operate on a replenishment system. So if you initiate 10 members and you submit to me the dues for those 10 members and all of their names, then I'm going in return to mail you 10 certificates. And we have a template for those certificates to fill out as needed, which is in the advisor toolbox as well. But you may even develop your own. And I'll send you the 10 pins and the cards. If I have room, I throw in some candles in there usually, and maybe a flyer or 2. And you can order, anything separately. And then if the next time you go to initiate, you initiate 6 members, well, then you'll have 4 pins remaining. But if you initiate 16 members, then you may need to submit a chapter supply order form where you order the difference for whatever certificates and pins that you need. Does that make sense? We found that seems to help us avoid crisis mode. And crisis mode is, it's Wednesday and my initiation is Friday. And we don't want that to happen. We do our best to help in those situations, obviously. But we find that kind of working on a replenishment system usually keeps people stocked pretty well with what they need. But again, if you ever need anything, you can reach out and we're happy to help. Okay. Jennifer, now that you've joined us again, do you have anything that you think is kind of a repetitive question that comes up, or I need this information and I can't find it? Is there, any guidance or suggestions that you have?
And I apologize. I had a delivery that, it was a window of 4 hours and they called, we'll be there in 10 minutes. So I'm sorry I had to step out for a minute, but I think maybe, which you already addressed, where do I find the initiation forms or other resources for initiation, like the ceremony, the templates for those, or the forms would kind of be one of the ones I hear often, and kind of just navigating the website as far as where to find resources. But going through this login section has been really helpful. So I think you've touched on a lot of the things that I would point out, but if anybody else has anything to add to that.
Yeah, and on the home screen, if you scroll down, it's taking a minute to load, but we've kind of got some bullet points there. If you ever need talking points for prospective members or for your administration, your dean, your chair, if you have new department members, you can kind of see some of this data here. We are certified, so we are a certified member of the Association of College Honor Societies. Not all honor societies are made equal in this situation. So I try to describe this as kind of the good housekeeping seal of approval for honor societies. We are the first national student organization in family and consumer sciences, dating back to 1909. We have over 100,000 members. And one thing that's kind of fun is we have this little kind of tally that talks about how much money we've awarded. So we're really proud of the Phi Epsilon Omicron Educational Foundation. And so that is, we're all under the same umbrella, but it actually exists as its own separate entity and has its own board. And so they exist solely to give scholarships, fellowships, and awards to Phi U members. And so that's collegiate and alumni. And last year, well, this academic year, we awarded almost $96,000. So there are definitely some additional benefits to being a Phi U member. And then this video, the video isn't new, but I think when we kind of relaunched the website, people seem to gravitate toward it again, and it's really kind of timeless. So this Wi-Fi U video is great. And then we have links to all our social media down here. So if for any reason you're struggling to find us on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, you can link directly from kind of the footer on the website. And the YouTube channel is relatively new. So if anyone has any advice to share, I am learning with you. But we feel like a lot of people kind of enjoy videos. And I even noticed there seems to be a trend with video newsletters. So they call them a newsletter, but they're really still on video because, one more thing to read may not be, as appealing as a quick video to watch. And then if you weren't on or have not had a chance to watch the video from the first chapter chat that we did last week, the scholarships, fellowships, and award applications are live and they are on the website. So if you go to scholarships and click on scholarships, or scholarships and click on fellowships, you will see that there. Let me see if I can get back in. Can everyone see my screen here?
Yes.
And then if you click on scholarship application directions, I won't repeat everything that Cindy said last week, but the password is capital SFA, as in Scholarship, Fellowship, and Awards 2021, 2021. And that is the same for all applications. And so one thing I have done is we have the video from Cindy's lovely chapter chat session embedded right here. Can everyone see this? So you can click right there to watch.
That's great.
There's the application and the directions. It might take me off when I click on application. Did it take you all to the application?
We see it, yes.
Right, perfect. And so it's an e-form, same as, you know, what we're kind of gravitating to on everything else. And again, you can go back and watch that. But that's something that was pretty recent. And we did extend the deadline to March 1st. It's typically February 1st. So your students have a little more time, but for the students who are on and also for the advisors, I think getting the transcripts lined up and the letters of recommendation as we kind of depart for winter break. I know different universities are doing different things over the next several weeks, but that would be something to get in motion and to encourage students to take a look. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. I'm just kind of a talking head, but I definitely wanted this to be beneficial for seasoned and new advisors and collegiates. We appreciate you all being on. And if you ever have a question, feel free to email me at national@fiu.org. You can also, email any other national officers. Our region counselors, Kendall Oliver is the Region 1 counselor, Amy Richards is Region 2, and Martha Rue is Region 3, and Sandy Osborne is Region 4. So we'll get those directories updated soon on the website. And I hope that this has been helpful to you and your chapters. And like I said, don't forget to nominate those outstanding advisors for the Bachtel Holbrook Collegiate Advisor Award. And that deadline was extended to December 15th. And check out the YouTube channel. There's lots of good stuff on there.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You too.